Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I am back with day number 24 of the March Madness Sketch Challenge from Scrap Now, Sleep Later. This is the sketch that we're going to be using, and I change it up a lot. I pulled out this BasicGrey collection called Lemonade, and I'm going to be documenting photos from the Strawberry Festival. Now you notice there that I had my phone. When I was planning out some of these sketches, because I changed this one up so much, I went ahead and decided to take a photo of my thought process of where I was going to place everything so that I would remember that when I came back, because I'm kind of doing these in batches, which I think I talked about in the beginning of the month, where I plan like 5 or 6 layouts with the sketches, and then I go and do the layouts, and then I do all the voiceovers together, and then I upload them. I took a picture to make sure that I could remember what I was thinking when I was planning these. So over on the left hand side, the sketch does call for smaller photos. I believe they're like 2 by 2, and I first thought I could start out with a 3 by 3 photo, but it just was too big. And they're photos of Eli and Anderson on this twirly ride that goes around and around. So I got a bunch of pictures of them. So it was absolutely photos that I could cut down. To the left of that, I have 2 4 by 6 photos. And then I have these 2 photos over on the right. Instead of the smaller photos, I made them skinnier and tall like the several of the smaller photos would be. But I just used those 2 photos of the kids behind this bacon rind cutout sign that's like a big pig that's holding strawberries. So this collection has a lot of like pinks and reds and greens in it, which I thought was perfect for the Strawberry Festival. I pulled out the paper that I thought would work best for it. So I first started out with this pink paper, and I'm going to add that to the far left hand side. I cut it at 5 inches, but then I realized that I wanted to also cut it at 11 inches so that I had a border around it to follow the sketch. Right next to the pink paper, I added this red paper with the polka dots on it, and then also cut that down to 11 inches. I believe that one is 6 inches. And then over on the left hand side, I went ahead and cut out this green paper, and I just really kind of measured where the photos were and made it actually quite a bit larger than the photos because I wanted to make sure that I could see the green behind it. And then I found this like honeycomb paper, and it has little florals in it, and I went ahead and cut that down. I first added it right next to the green paper, but then realized that the sketch called for it at the bottom. So I thought about it for a few minutes, and then what I ended up doing was lay my photos out on the paper, and then realized that I was going to leave it in that configuration, but I wanted to go ahead and cut out the green bottom piece since it would be covered up completely. But then, of course, I did cut it a little short, and I'm going to have to use a border strip. I'm going to use worn lipstick to distress all of the edges of the paper, and then I'm going to adhere everything down. As I'm doing that, I want to encourage you guys to go check out the Scrap Now, Sleep Later Facebook group. We are getting so close to the end of the month of March, and that means that there are lots of inspiration over on the Facebook group. There is a $10 fee to join the March Madness Sketch Challenge, but you will not be disappointed in the chance to first win a daily, weekly, or monthly prize if you complete all the layouts. On top of that, you'll get lots of inspiration from the group. All of the details are posted below. So I had this extra photo, and it had both the boys in it, but I decided to just go ahead and cut out Anderson because I had another photo that had just Anderson in it, so that there's 2 photos where you can see both of the boys, and then I just had that one photo with just Anderson, and I was like, I might as well just use this other photo. It had both of them in it, but the way that I cut it down, it just has Eli in it, and I love Eli's face in that particular photo. So once I get the photos on the left hand side, I go ahead and start working on the right hand side, and this is where I realized that I was just a little bit short. So I used the pink paper from the left and used my border punch to cut out a border strip, and it was really just needed like 1/4 of an inch, so I cut it pretty thin, and I did of course go ahead and ink it up with the worn lipstick like the rest of the paper, and then adhere it down to cover up that little gap. And it's hard to see on camera. It was not that big at all, but it would have definitely bothered me if I didn't use the strip. Once I get the border strip down, I do go ahead and use my X-Acto knife to cut off the edge. So I do use my T-square ruler to put down these 4 photos, and what I did was I started with the bottom photo and then I went to the top photo so that I could make sure that those 2 photos were equal distance from the edge of the pink paper, and then from there I put in the 2 middle photos, making sure that there was also equal space between the 2 of them as well. And then I have these 2 photos of the boys in this like old-timey car, and I have a close-up as well as one that's a little bit further away. So I didn't like the fact that these photos over on the far right of me and Eli as well as my mom and Eli were covering up a lot of that pink paper on the bottom, so I went ahead and trimmed them down. First I made them a little bit thinner, and then I went ahead and also just made them back into a square so that I could get as much of that pink paper on the right showing, and I didn't want to cover it up completely. So once I cut those down, I did have to cut the photos above it. Even though they're not sitting directly on top of them, I wanted to make sure that they were the same width as the photos of Eli and myself and Eli and my mom. So the sketch does call for them to be a little bit closer together, but because of that border strip, I went ahead and moved it up a little bit. Now, I decided to just reuse the title that I had used before. That was the great thing about having a silhouette, right? We can use it as many times as we want. The layout that I did before is for my friend, so it will obviously go in her album at her house, and then this one will go in, obviously, my albums at my house. You know, no one would even know that the same title is on 2 different layouts. And of course, I'm using a completely different collection, so even though they do have the same title, they're obviously going to be different because they're different colors as well. One of the frustrating things about having a silhouette was remembering that not every paper is cut equally, and so some of this paper did tear, and I'll show you guys that in just a minute. I did go ahead and pull out the sticker sheet, and I only found 1 sticker, and it was this little floral. I went ahead and added that. And then here you can see the strawberries that I cut out in the like light pink as well as the dark red. This paper is super, super thin. And it's interesting because BasicGrey paper usually wasn't thin. Like I remember it being very thick, but this one was really thin. And so I had to use my X-Acto knife as well as my pokey tool because all of these strawberries have little dots on them. And then I went ahead and pulled out the worn lipstick ink and inked them up to kind of help because they were white core paper, so there was some white showing, so the ink helped with covering up the places where it tore. So I used the same strawberries that I used on my friend's layout. There was the set of 3 strawberries, and I add that up to the top right, and I really like the way that those strawberries nestle together and make like 3 different strawberries. And then of course going ahead and adding those green little stems down. I did pull out another ink. I don't remember what color this was, but I really like the way that the ink looks on this particular paper because it does already have a lot of distress to it. So adding that extra ink to it really does help make the pieces stand out. And then over on the left-hand side, I added a strawberry over there, and I really need a second dauber. Like I had to keep removing my ink pads between the pink and the green to make it work. And I was like, I can't believe I don't have a second one. I don't know why I would not have a second one. So might be something that I need to put on my list. My fingers were so full of ink by the time I was done because I was pulling up those ink pads. So I have a total of the 2 strawberries on the left, 1 next to the title and then 1 down at the bottom. I pulled out my enamel dots in green and pink and added those to each one of the clusters. All right, so here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys are enjoying these layouts today. I really decided to do this to try to help my watch hours and get those watch hours back up. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in each and every day to watch these videos. It has really helped my watch hours, and I am so appreciative of each and every one of you guys for spending your free time with me watching my process videos. So thank you guys so much for that. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.